Alright, hey guys, it's been a while since I've done one of these before, but instead of talking about what's going on in the video, I wanted to try and have an actual topic instead. So, in this case, it's going to be about what went wrong with UC3, in my opinion. So, and I'm just talking about the multiplayer, I'm not talking about single player. Single player is actually pretty okay. It's not perfect by any means, but yeah, that's a whole different topic entirely. So, Uncharted 3 multiplayer. Let's see. So, it all starts back in the beta, right? We had all that, they had the kickbacks, they had a moderately fast sprint. I mean, it wasn't super fast, it was in between it was a nice speed. It was hard to control, so you couldn't use it everywhere. And then you had your basic set of weapons, which is the GMAL, the AK, and they did have the M9, but there was no FAL and there was no CAL. And there was the Dragon Sniper, yeah, there was the Dragon Sniper, but there was no FAL and CAL. Okay, so that beta was really well received. Everybody liked it, it wasn't perfect, but it was perfect. What am I saying? It was probably the best emulation of Uncharted 2's multiplayer with the new added features of Uncharted 3, which was kickbacks and power plays and the cinematic map moments. So, with that background in mind, oh, and also, let's not forget, it had separated hitboxes for the legs and the torso and the head, which, just to simplify that even further, basically that means you take less damage in the legs than you do in your torso, which is your chest, your body, your stomach, basically. So then you fast forward to the October Subway promotion, which was basically just early access to the full Retails multiplayer. They were really planning to release Uncharted 3's multiplayer in the current state it was, had they not in the current state it was in October. They were pretty much absolutely okay with probably putting the game out in October, but the thing was they had to iron out some bugs with single player. So that's why it was put out in November, because they realized that they set that date way ahead in the future, so the single player just wasn't ready. So we had this multiplayer, which was pretty much done in their eyes, right? So it was a Subway promotion. People call it a beta, but it really wasn't a beta. I mean, the reason why you could call it a beta is because of the constant changes. The few patches they made during that time to try and fix it to what people wanted it to be. So here we are on the Subway promotion multiplayer, which included drastic changes from the summer beta. First of all, you had your all the hitboxes on your body take the same amount of damage except for your head. Your head takes more damage than the rest of your body. The rest of your body, pretty much, your legs take the same amount of damage as your chest and torso, or whatever. So, that changes things dramatically, because that means you have less chance of survival, even if you do evade a lot. And you can probably see in this gameplay itself here that that is very prevalent. I die a lot when I'm rolling or jumping, even though those rolls or jumps are perfectly timed. And that is something that has stuck around since October of 2011. So anyway, then you have the, I think the FAL and CAL were they introduced in the Subway promo? I think they were. Yes, they were. The CAL was introduced in the Subway promotion multiplayer, if I recall, and as was the FAL at some point or another, or maybe not. I think the FAL was still unavailable, but the CAL 7 was. And so pretty much I will just sum up the Subway promo as hipfire mayhem. Yes, blindfire and hipfire are different things, okay? Hipfire is when you're running around and holding R1. Blindfire is when you're behind cover and you're holding R1. The distinction there is important, because you can't say blindfire for all of it. It's not while it makes sense for us to say blind fire, the technical terms in the game itself is hip fire, you're running and holding R1. Blind fire, you're sitting behind cover holding R1. So anyway, they tried to tweak and adjust things leading up to the retail release of the game. And then the retail release, you know, it was pretty much the same thing. People were hoping, they were hoping against hope, that it would be different. It would be dramatically different from the Subway promotion. Nope. Nope, same multiplayer. So, I'm not going to go over every single patch or change or anything like that, but the bottom line is that we've had 17 patches now, and the game, while it might be in a somewhat better state than it was in October of 2011, it's still roughly the same game. The gun that was still probably at the top of the best, or whatever, since October or the retail release, is still pretty much the best gun, and that is the M9. The M9 is still the best gun. I mean, the Gmail was the best gun for a while, and personally, I think that was a better thing to have as the best gun than the M9. But hey, you know, people whined, and it got changed again to where the M9 is the better gun. In the end, the reason why is because of the new features they added into Uncharted 3. You know, the thing about Uncharted 2 was it didn't have all these new features in it. It was just a basic, bare-bones multiplayer. You didn't have your mods that you could add to your guns. You didn't have these stupid kickbacks. You didn't have power plays. You didn't have paid boosters. You didn't have... what else was wrong? I mean, you didn't have blind fire that was super, like, automatic. Like, you don't have to actually have your camera in the direction of the person you're shooting. Or I mean the hip fire, my bad, hip fire. It had everything right in Uncharted 2, except for, of course, that one thing in 1.05 where they changed the health. So, really, the bottom line is that what led to all of these issues cropping up was there were too many chefs in the kitchen. Too many chefs. That's the first thing. There's too many chefs. Between Triple Wreck, between, who else was, you know, asking, like, there's just a ton, there were a ton of top players asking for changes, and a ton of mid-level players asking for changes, and a ton of low-level players asking for changes, and a ton of, new people asking for changes that just popped out of nowhere on the forums, and, you know, they kept demanding changes, and, oh, that was just a controller issue there. I wasn't looking for a second. It's not a big deal. I fix it in a second. The point is that there were just too many players asking for various different gameplay changes to the guns, or to the general gameplay, like I was saying. You know, there were people that wanted the Gmail to be good. There were people that wanted the Gmail not to be good. There were people that wanted the FAL to be good, and there were people that didn't want the FAL to be good. It's because we all have these different opinions on what the best gun should be, or what kind of ideal world, like, what type of ideal balance, I guess, you want in Uncharted. When really, to begin with, the general core of Uncharted is map control and the ability to play with as many guns as you can. There's a reason there's so many different guns in the game, because you're supposed to use all of them. You're not supposed to use just one gun. You're supposed to use all of them. And that brings me to my next point. Loadouts. Loadouts was a horrible, horrible idea. It's another new feature to Uncharted 3 that was not in Uncharted 2. I mean, Uncharted 2 had a sort of a loadout, but it wasn't really. So you have this loadout system, which allows you to have boosters, which was a part of Uncharted 2, and that's fine. But then you have these other problems. You have a gun you can use. You can use at the start of the multiplayer. You don't have to worry about picking it up on the map or dealing with any other gun ever. You can just learn this one gun. You can just main this one gun, and you're fine. You don't have to learn any other gun. That's okay, except for your pistol. And then that's the other thing. You get to choose your own pistol that you want to start off with. But then, it's not even that. You have these mods that you have to worry about. You have to attach to your gun. So you attach these mods that they created that were obviously not well thought out. You have now the only mod I think that is okay, like that doesn't really change much. The only mods that are okay that don't really change much are clip size and reload speed and what's that other one? There's one other one I'm forgetting. Clip size, reload speed, and max ammo. Those 3 mods do not change much about the guns themselves. And I guess Callout doesn't either, but that doesn't really matter anyway. Those 3 mods are actually fine, because they were originally boosters in Uncharted 2. But then you have these other mods that actually change the statistics of the guns, like accuracy and blind fire, which is funny that they call it blind fire, because that also affects hip fire. But anyway, you have blind fire up, accuracy up, rapid fire increase, you have, what else is there? I mean, I'm sure I'm forgetting something else that's also really stupid. But the point is, there were these stat mods that increased stats on certain guns and made them better at what they already probably are good at. So then, on top of that, you have a completely new mechanic added to the game that is obviously a Call of Duty ripoff, which is kickbacks, and that's pretty much build up your medal count to give access to spawning an RPG in your hand. Now, on paper, this sounded like a okay idea, but the problem was most of the kickbacks are spawn a weapon in your hand kickbacks, which pretty much allow you to get instant kills, and takes away, again, another core aspect of Uncharted, which is map control. I mean, not map control, but getting the weapons was a part of map control, I guess. So you don't have to get the weapons at all. You can just kill people to get the weapons instead. Now, of course, they give you limited ammo in some of these, but in some cases they don't. Like the T-Bolt kickback gives you full ammo, 5 T-Bolt rounds. I think that's really stupid. That automatically makes it better than the RPG kickback, because you only get 1 round of the RPG kickback. Of course, you have to consider the other aspects of the gun, but on that basic level terms of thought and understanding, that is a pretty big difference, and sort of already imbalanced all on its own. You had the sawed-off shotgun that spawns in your hand. That also gives you almost full ammo. I mean, all the time. Like, it varies from, like, I think 6 to 8 ammo. And that's another thing. Like, just oddly, the shotgun and pistole vary in ammo when you pick them up. It's really weird. But anyway, so, yeah, the kickbacks, there weren't enough passive kickbacks that just did things that didn't automatically gain you kills. That's what I was hoping for, but that didn't happen. They didn't execute it that way for some reason. They went the more Call of Duty way. And that's the third reason, is because they decided to go after the Call of Duty crowd, just like every other developer out there. They decided to go after the Call of Duty crowd. That's probably the main #1 reason, but I decided to put it as the last reason because at its core, it's still Uncharted. But the blemish are all these features that they put into the game, and it's just a cluster. It's just a cluster. It's horrible. It's just like this one big, like thing. It's like it's attacking itself basically because it doesn't know what it wants to be. It wants to be Uncharted, but it also wants to be Call of Duty. So you can't have both. That's the thing. Like mashing them together doesn't work. And that's its problem. But of course, #4 is that there were all these people. As I said, I said #1 was that there was all these people. So #4 is that you have the developers themselves who don't even understand what to change. Like they don't know what they want their game to be like. The fact that they're taking almost 90% of their feedback from the fans, who think they know what they're talking about, or who think they should know what they're talking about, They're willing to trust them, put all their trust into their fans' feedback to get the game to be what the fans want it to be. And in the end, here we are, 17 patches later, and it's still not the game we want it to be. It's still a far cry from what Uncharted 2 was back in 2009. It's still a far cry. It's still not going to get there. It's never going to get there. This is the game you're going to have to accept. This is the game we're going to have to accept. And it's at this point where I feel kind of conflicted. Because I also actually still like Uncharted 3, but I also kind of hate it. And the reason why I hate it is because it's not Uncharted 2 at all. It doesn't play like Uncharted 2 does. And a lot of that has to do with the climbing animations. I mean, there were some improvements to that part of the game. There are improvements to Uncharted 3 that I do enjoy, and that's why I like it. I like how the platforming and climbing and stuff like that is actually better to some degree. There are still some issues with it, like I said, that I do not like, but I'm not going to get into that. There are other aspects I don't like about Uncharted 3, and those all include the Call of Duty-like elements, like throwing back grenades, kickbacks, the loadout system in general. Leveling up boosters, I think, was a really stupid idea. And all this other extraneous stuff that just doesn't fit with what Uncharted is, in my mind. So, it's at this point in time where I feel that the best thing to do is just to move on from this game. It's 17 patches in, and it's still pretty much the same game as it was almost 2 years ago. You know, it's still kind of a fun game to play, and while you might be shouting at me to play Classic Mode, I do play it. But the problem is, there's still these Uncharted 3 gameplay elements in Classic Mode anyway, and not everybody plays Classic Mode because, guess what? They're all too busy playing the regular modes like Team Deathmatch and Plunder and all these other modes that have the Uncharted 3 features that I don't like. And the really sad thing is that the reason why people don't play Classic is because apparently it's overrun by people who hipfire, which in my time that I've played Classic Mode, I have not had these legendary hipfirers at all in every single match. I think it's totally blown out of proportion, and people need to go back to playing Classic Mode and see for themselves whether or not it is hipfire central or not. Because when I played it about 2 weeks ago, when I was coming back to this game, it was not hipfire central still. I mean, yes, there is still going to be lots of hipfire in this game because hipfire hasn't really changed much at all since the first patch to the retail release. But basically, like I was saying, it all goes back to the 3 points I made earlier. Too many chefs in the kitchen, you know, are cooking. Too many people are cooking in the kitchen. Too many people, from the fans to the developers themselves to the audience that they're trying to appeal to. It's just a mess. And then you have the loadout system. As I mentioned before, the loadout system is incredibly stupid for Uncharted, for what it started out as in Uncharted 2. Yes, Classic Mode somewhat addresses that problem, but it doesn't completely fix all the issues with Uncharted 3. And partially because of player population in Classic Mode. Then you finally have the whole going after the Call of Duty audience, which was a really daft idea in the first place. It was 2011, I guess at the time it made sense, but realistically, you're not going to get the same crowd playing your game, Naughty Dog. So you really should just stop. Just stop completely. There's no point. It doesn't make any sense. It's just pointless. It just ruined the game. It ruined the game. It ruined the multiplayer completely for everybody involved. And I don't think free-to-play fixes that either. It doesn't. It doesn't fix anything. So, you know, and of course the developers themselves are relying on us too much. They're relying on us too much. They should have the idea about what the game should be, and yet it's like they don't know. So I don't know. I mean, I like the game, but I also hate the game. And after my break, it's been, you know, getting better, but I mean, after the break, I've been able to play it better in the sense that like I don't get as frustrated. But the point is that um, Uncharted 3's multiplayer was just a mess, and I don't want to see that happen again, but it probably will. So, until next time, guys, I will see you later, I guess. Bye.